Look at our MC Rizzler Will, reverting back to his worst self, meek Will. But where there's a man in distress, there's a carrot-colored haired waifu ready to whip you back into shape. While our MC is stuck trying to make it to a symbol, our friend-zoned waifu is doing everything she can to convince our special MC Rizzler Will that is only good at physical attacks that he must show the world how powerful his lone sword really is. While our friend-zoned sympathy booty is being a great friend to our Megane Will by giving him words of encouragement and always being by his side, it takes an even greater asshole to really get our meek Will to become the great MC Rizzler Will of the Lone Sword. Spoiler warning, guys, for Wistoria, Wand and Sword, Episode 4, Taisai Zenya. This episode is all about introducing a bunch of new characters who will be very key for our MC's story. And it all starts with the douchebag. This episode does a great job at highlighting Colette's role as Will's friend-zone friend. This episode knocks Will down a peg from the previous few episodes to remind us that he's not a completed shonen MC character just yet, but reminding us the key part about this story that Will must still become. And it all starts with beating up this asshole. So let's jump right into it. The episode starts off reminding us how all the students need 7,200 credits to reach the Upper Institute before they can become a Magia vendor, which there's apparently 5 of them, which sounds very unlikely. All the students are in some kind of performance exam, and the soulless rival Shion uses fire. Sympathy Booty uses some earth spells. Then Will does the incredible. He fakes out the robots with a faint punch. He hears the murmur of the students talking down on him, and that freezes him up. After he was about to deck the robots with his fist, that hesitancy slowed them down and caused them to get smacked away by the robots. All the students are making fun of him, and is that a douchebag Will? We are now introduced with the top 3 students that has over 10k credits, which is like power levels for the show. Elf Will uses wind, Miss Perfect uses lightning, and who is he? Julius, the next coming of douchebag antagonist Shion. And instead of fire, he's all about that ice, baby. There's nothing like a little bit of friendly rivalry as the Ice D-Bag hands Wignall and Liana an Ice Flower for their battle at the top. If we take a look at Julius's face, we get why Liana and Wignall did this to us Ice Flower. So right off the bat, we are introduced with 3 characters like Shion that are going to be very, very important for the story of Will's, at least for the upcoming arcs. And of course, the theme continues with the antagonist continue being that D-Bag. Unfortunately for Will, who only has a little bit above 5,400 credits, which makes him a complete loser. Right, Kiki? Step aside, everyone, as Julius takes the place of Shion as the douchebag antagonist. He even has his own dumbass 1 and dumbass 2. After the opening credits, Colette continues to show her sympathy and encouragement for her I can't get out of the friend zone man, Will, and sits down at the table with him that he needs to be scouted at the Grand Magic Festival, cause credits can be meaningless when people actually witness and experience with their own 2 eyes what you can really do. So bypassing the credits and going straight to the tower is actually a viable option. Will proceeds to go over some exposition with what the Grand Magic Festival is. It occurs every 2 years and a bunch of big shots from different tower factions, like, you know, the Wind Elf Alfie, Whitening Boat, the Fire Dude, and the Question Mark of Light, and of course our number 1 ship, Elfaria's Ice, Alba's Vina, come by to try to recruit the best of the best to have them join their faction as they go through different events in this competition festival thing to compete against one another. Colette brings up that Watchers might be there to help scout people, and Will just says that Watchers are just one of the Academy's 7 legends. And that's where the fake Megane Iris walks by. Megane Will proceeds to deny Sympathy Booty's advances to try to get him to show everyone his lone sword. Meek Will begins to make really bad excuses like a physical beast like him shouldn't show his magicless, no talent butt at a magic festival. Remember when we were 2nd years at the 50th Magic Festival? Yeah, that was deemed the worst festival ever. And they threw trash at him. Our sweet side piece is doing everything she can to help prop meek Will up, but he remains meek and weak as hell as she tells him that other scouts from different capitals will be there too. This is a chance for our little meek Will, but he is losing all there is right before our sympathy booty's very eyes, as he is turning down an opportunity of a lifetime to show everyone his gigantic glorious sword. For real guys, I'm gonna feel worse and worse for our sweet Colette Noir, because she's totally the girlfriend that Will needs, and she deserves to have our MC. But it's just too hard to beat childhood lovers. Colette literally encourages and protects Will to become a better man. But in Will's head, it's only Elfie that is the one that's really pushing him to be a Magic vendor. She is that catalyst, while Colette is that support on the way there. So the story overall at this point is knocking Will back down to that meek Will level after the previous few episodes, where each episode basically had Will become something after being, down a bit. So this episode is not that much different in that aspect. Like when he was the Riz god that saved girls and overcome significant asshole obstacles. So Will denying Colette's advice by not going to the Grand Magical Festival, participating in it, that denial acts as that, but Colette basically acts as us, as the audience, as that person trying to encourage our MC to take the courage, to take the step forward, to shine. And unfortunately, she's just the friend zone girl. And unfortunately for Colette's words, her words don't hold as much weight as Elfie's does. It sucks being friend zoned, doesn't it? Colette notices something weird with the lockers, and she picks up Kiki like she's its mom already to scope out the lockers. Looks like Megan A. Will and Sympathy Booty has stumbled upon an illegal gambling operation, and everyone is placing bets on who will win the festival. Sympathy Booty does her best to beat Alpha, as our dormant Rizzler Will is in his peak meek form, and she protects him with her wand against someone she might end up being shipped with later down the line, as she'll never be able to be on Elfie's level. But the side piece has hope and is Will's current protector. Dumbass number 1 and less dumbass number 2 pretty much let it slip that Shion was looking at his odds of winning the competition, in which his soul cannot be found. Shion tells his dumbasses to pipe down and sets us up in the story that his magical prowess is on par with Wigno and Lihana. Look at Colette in the background. If you can't get into Meek Will's pants when he's at his weakest, be besties with his pet instead. Well, I guess it's technically Workner Sensei's, but it's Meek Will's now. This scene is clearly setting us up for Shion taking another step forward as a character. Remember, Daijoubu? That patronizing question is surely eating away at his non-existent soul, but the purpose of the scene is to let us know that Shion ain't backing down since what happened in episode 1. This scene is teasing us that Shion is indeed going to show how much stronger he's gotten at this point. So that was the purpose of this scene. The dormant powers of Shion. And it skips ahead and class is over and Will's about to ditch our Sympathy Booty, but Colette ain't having none of that, as she will stalk him down if she has to. Colette wants to go where Will goes after school, and so he tells her that he will be working for Miss Gina's Tavern, which is a dwarf-run tavern in the slumland street on the outskirts of the Herbis Garden. It looks like our Colette Noir won't be there at all. And so it skips ahead, and our Megan A. Will is hardworking, that he delivers newspapers in the morning, plays student during the day, and then wait tables at night. He sure sounds like a college student that, hey look, Roasty, instead of shoving things in Will's mouth, he's helping Will shove things in the customers' mouths. It's just better than Colette at stalking our hardworking Will, whom Will asked Roasty to help him serve a bunch of strong, muscular men. Because that's totally not what Roasty's into. Roasty and Will basically have a conversation confirming that even Will can get a better job through Workner Sensei. Him and the dwarves are way too much alike, and they get along so well because they are of the respected magicless breed. At the end of the day, Will and the dwarves, there is a parallel between them, and there's a camaraderie there, and then all of a sudden, with a dramatic drop of a spoon, our antagonist and his dumbass lackeys enter the tavern. A powerful and patronizing magical talent like Julius has entered a known tavern run by magicless dwarves. How will these types of people clash? Well, we'll see. Julius makes fun of the no-talented Will and that he suits these barbarians. There's nothing more antagonist than someone like Julius showing his racism. Honest Toes Will informs the audience about how the dwarves ended up in their world as the celestial host destroyed the dwarves' world and ended up in this magical place while they themselves don't have any of those magical powers, while at the same time the elves that entered their world were treated with high esteem. The dwarves are treated with Julius's racism. Megan A. Will reminds us that this world operates on the hierarchy of magical power, and this is an important part to note, that it's good to remind the audience that we're seeing things through Will's lens. We all know that he's pretty damn powerful, even though he doesn't have magic, but the story always reminds us that everyone else values magic. It was literally in the very first episode, and all the NPCs hate Will because he doesn't have no magical power. So it's good to have these kind of scenes where it breaks us out of Will's bubble to remind us that there's a reason why he's meek a lot. Julius and his dumbass lackeys continue to discriminate and speak poorly of our tasty dwarven bentos. Their dwarven racism has no bounds as they create an eerie of drama, an eerie of our boy Meek Will slowly turning back into his Rizzler self. The racism spikes, but so does Will's Riz, and he takes off his apron and walks towards his racist cohorts. Megan A. Will turns on his courage, and the Riz begins with a cliche line like, "Take that racist shh back." Will goes into what makes the dwarf's beings so special, and that just ticks him off that he continues to build this resolve within himself to stand up to these dumbass bullies. Julius kicks the food onto our Megan A. Will, and the dumbasses get brazen as the Riz turns on. Our Rizzler Will just knocked the bleep out of these dumbasses. So Julius, who finally gets a taste of his own medicine, but what makes something cold and sick is totally up his alley. Just as Julius pins down Rizzler Will with his ice, he couldn't help but feel defied by the Rizzler's eyes, and so it begins. Julius challenges Rizzler Will in the Grand Magic Festival. Rizzler Will easily breaks the ice and accepts his challenge that Julius will embarrass him in front of everyone and Elfie. The agreement stands that if Julius wins, Will must quit the academy, and if Will wins, Julius must apologize to all the dwarves. So yeah guys, this whole beginning of this arc really is knocking Will back down a peg just to bring him back up for this very moment where he builds his resolve once again for Colette. Our MC must always be in the state of becoming shonen. Otherwise, it's no fun seeing someone already at the top and already have that mindset. So there's a fine balance between being meek and being that Rizzler Will. And we are introduced with a few newer characters that will be important for future arcs. And of course, they gotta start off with the asshole, Julius. 4 episodes in, and we could start to pick up the kind of formula of how these characters are used and in what parts they are used as, and what their next natural character development will be. Fortunately for our sympathy booty Colette Noir, I think she's probably the most crucial character in the show because she keeps the character dynamics interesting. She is the first character introduced to be literally his best friend. She's technically his best friend right now because she's always there by his side. The story is really dependent on her of how much we enjoy watching this show versus how much we can end up hating the show. And I think her character is that key. And unfortunately for her character, for her position, she's basically the girlfriend that's not officially the girlfriend. While Elfie is that catalyst for Will to become a Magia Vander, it's Colette that keeps these character dynamics that basically come back to her, that keeps these things interesting, because not only because of the different romantic triangles, or if there's other characters that wants to expand this romantic triangle, Colette literally keeps all the characters grounded, like Xion and other potential suitors for Will and suitors for her. So her character, a lot can happen. But Will, we know what Will's path is. For all these other characters, we have a good idea of what they are, but Colette is the most malleable one. For Colette's character, there's just so many different angles that you can go at with her character. I mean, she's totally like his day one friend, who's not Elfie, who ditched him. and she acts as that guy that's doing everything she can to legitimately be a good friend. But of course, there's always that romantic part, but she's doing everything that a girlfriend would be doing that Elfaria can't do for Will. So I like that dynamic between Will, Colette, Elfaria, and Colette, and many of the other characters that we have yet to see. With Julius is basically, let's replace the asshole red fire guy for the ice asshole guy. But Julius, there's always a little bit different things that you can do as an antagonist, rival kind of character like Julius that still can be interesting. And there's some things that he does that I absolutely despise for an antagonist in a good way. There's just certain, bad guy villains that if they do this certain thing or they say certain things that just completely rub me the wrong way. And Julius is that character for me. So yeah, that was pretty much this episode. It was pretty much make Will turn into Meek Will again, so you can make him be Rizzler Will again. And then go ahead, bring in another antagonist that we can all hate in the meantime, and have them compete against one another. That was pretty much this episode. And of course, we had the introduction of all these newer characters that are the strongest of the crop of what Will is a part of right now in their school. They are characters like Will that have the most realistic chance of becoming Magia vendors, and they have their own little stories that they must overcome to kind of try to make it to the top as well. Whether they are friends, foes, or rivals, they're going to be important to the story. So I can't wait to see what happens and what kind of different directions they'll go with the anime with those kind of characters. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts about episode 4 of Wistoria, Wand and Sword. But yeah, I would love to know what you guys thought about this episode and everything up until this point. So yeah guys, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, check out my blog at otakusin.com, and I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.